A former convict turned alpha male guru, millions of followers hanging on his every word, Lamborghinis, penthouses, and the promise of transformation. Then it all came crashing down. Wes Watson's arrest sent shockwaves through the influencer world, exposing a web of lies that cost his followers millions. This isn't just another celebrity downfall. This is the complete destruction of an empire built on false promises, rented dreams, and ultimately, violence. The alpha male exposed, the TikTok scandal that keeps getting worse, and a prison sentence that could stretch a quarter century. This is the rise and fall of Wes Watson. And trust me, it gets darker than you think. Before we dive into this absolute train wreck, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button. I promise, our channel's more reliable than Wes's coaching sessions. And unlike him, we won't charge you $3,000 for the privilege. Hit that notification bell too, because celebrity buzz like this doesn't stay buried for long.
So who exactly was Wes Watson before everything imploded? Picture this: a ripped ex-convict with a YouTube channel called GP Penitentiary Life, sharing raw, unfiltered stories from behind bars. For millions of men feeling lost, stuck in dead-end jobs, struggling with their purpose, Wes represented something powerful. He was proof that even after hitting rock bottom, you could claw your way back up. His content wasn't polished or corporate. It was gritty, real, the kind of authenticity that cuts through the noise. He talked about prison politics, survival tactics, the mental warfare of solitary confinement. People ate it up because it felt genuine in a world drowning in fake influencer content.
But Wes didn't stop at storytelling. He evolved into something bigger, something more profitable. The alpha male movement was exploding across social media, and Wes positioned himself at the center of it. Suddenly, his content shifted from prison wisdom to masculine dominance, wealth accumulation, and physical superiority. The videos changed too. Low shots emphasizing his jacked physique, gleaming Lamborghinis in the background, tours of his supposed multi-million-dollar San Diego penthouse. He wasn't just sharing his journey anymore. He was selling a lifestyle, a transformation package for men desperate to become the alpha version of themselves. The message was simple, but intoxicating. Follow my program, adopt my mindset, and you'll unlock the same success. For guys drowning in mediocrity, that promise felt like a lifeline.
His following exploded. We're talking millions across platforms, with fans who didn't just watch his content, but lived by it. They copied his brutal workout routines, memorized his mantras, defended him religiously in comment sections. Wes wasn't just another fitness influencer or motivational speaker. To his audience, he was a general leading an army, a prophet with the keys to masculine excellence. That level of devotion created something dangerous: absolute trust. When someone believes you saved them from their darkest place, they'll follow you anywhere. They'll empty their bank accounts if you ask. And that's exactly what happened.
But let's rewind even further, back to where this whole story started. Wes Watson wasn't always the alpha guru flexing supercars. He grew up in California, a typical coastal kid hooked on skateboarding and surfing. The ocean, the freedom, the laid-back vibe, that was his world. But temptation lurked everywhere in that scene, and by 14, Wes had already dove headfirst into the drug culture, not just experimenting but dealing. Slinging weed became his hustle, his way of navigating a world that offered more money in the streets than a legitimate work for a directionless teenager. That lifestyle caught up with him hard in 2009. A drug debt spiraled into violence, an assault that landed Wes a 10-year prison sentence. For most people, that would be the end of the story. A decade behind bars breaks people, crushes their spirit, leaves them hollow. But Wes tells a different version, the one he built his entire brand on. According to him, prison became his university. He hit the weights obsessively, transformed his body into a weapon.
He dove into philosophy books, stoicism, anything that could sharpen his mind while his body was locked away. He built what he called his wall of belief, an unshakable mental fortress that would carry him through the darkest moments of solitary confinement and prison politics.
When he walked out in 2019, West had a story to sell. And honestly, it was compelling. Here was a guy who'd lost everything, spent his 20s in a cage, and emerged stronger, focused, ready to conquer. That narrative resonated because transformation stories always do. We love seeing people overcome impossible odds. We root for the underdog who refuses to stay down. Wes knew this, and he weaponized it brilliantly. His early YouTube videos tapped into something primal in men who felt emasculated by modern life, guys who wanted to believe they could be harder, stronger, more dominant. Wes represented living proof it was possible.
That foundation of trust, that's where the real tragedy begins. Because Wes Watson didn't just inspire his followers, he exploited them. The life coaching packages he promoted were supposed to be the golden ticket, the inside access to the mindset and discipline that transformed him from convict to alpha icon. The pitch was irresistible. One-on-one mentorship from a guy who'd survived hell and come out winning. He promised personalized guidance, accountability, real transformation. The price reflected that exclusivity. $3,000 a month for premium coaching. $1,500 for those he deemed particularly desperate for change. Thousands of men, many struggling financially, but convinced this was their last shot at a better life, scraped together the money and signed up.
What they got was a nightmare. The personal coaching Wes hyped, it didn't exist. Students were immediately handed off to random staff members who knew nothing about their specific situations or goals. Sessions were canceled without explanation or warning. When frustrated clients demanded answers or requested refunds, they were met with vague promises that never materialized. Worse, many were simply blocked and ghosted, erased from Wes's world, as if their money and trust meant nothing. These weren't just dissatisfied customers complaining about a subpar service. These were men who'd invested everything, financially and emotionally, into a program that turned out to be hollow. The stories started flooding in. One guy shared how he'd reached out to Wes with about 12,000 followers, wanting to monetize his passion for helping others. He asked what was included in the coaching package. Wes gave him a massive breakdown, promising client acquisition funnels, complete business systems, the works. The guy sent over $3,000, genuinely excited about the transformation coming his way. What did he receive? An 1,800-calorie meal plan. That's it. Nothing else. No funnels, no business coaching, no personal guidance, just a generic meal plan you could find free on any fitness website. When he tried to follow up, he got nothing. Radio silence. And he wasn't alone. Reddit next exploded with similar accounts. People sharing screenshots of ignored emails, payment receipts with no corresponding services, stories of being blocked the moment they asked uncomfortable questions. The hashtag Wes Watson scam spread like wildfire, racking up tens of thousands of shares within days. Forums dedicated to exposing him saw threads with tens of thousands of upvotes, transforming individual grievances into a coordinated movement demanding accountability. The worst part wasn't even the money. Though many had emptied savings accounts for his program, it was the betrayal of belief. These men had trusted Wes because he understood darkness. They thought someone who'd survived prison could guide them through their struggles. Realizing it was all a cash grab shattered something fundamental. Quick pause here. If you're still watching, you're clearly invested in this disaster, so go ahead and subscribe. Unlike Wes, we'll actually deliver the content we promise, and we won't ghost you in the comments. Plus, it's free, which already makes us $3,000 cheaper than his coaching scam. All right, back to the chaos. As the coaching scam unraveled, people started digging deeper into the lifestyle Wes flaunted so aggressively. Those Lamborghinis he posed with constantly? Rented. We're talking $60,000 a month for a Bugatti Chiron lease just to flex on camera. The $30 million San Diego penthouse he called home? Another rental at $80,000 monthly. Every symbol of the wealth and success he preached about building was temporary, leased, smoke and mirrors designed to sell an image. The hypocrisy cut deep because Wes's entire philosophy centered on building real, lasting wealth. He talked endlessly about discipline, saving, making smart financial decisions. Meanwhile, he was hemorrhaging cash on short-term flexes, drowning in debt to maintain an illusion.
This revelation didn't just anger people. It made them feel stupid for believing him. Here was a guy preaching financial freedom while renting his entire life, charging desperate followers thousands for advice he clearly didn't follow himself. The alpha male ideal he represented, the self-made millionaire who built everything from nothing, it was all performance art. His real business model was simple: extract money from vulnerable men by selling them a fantasy while showing them a rented lifestyle they could never actually achieve.
The financial consequences hit fast. Coaching revenue dropped 70% almost overnight. Payment processors like Stripe, flooded with chargebacks from scammed customers, froze hundreds of thousands of dollars from his accounts. His YouTube channel bled subscribers by the hundreds of thousands. Every new video got buried under dislikes and comment sections full of people warning others not to fall for his con. Creators like CoffeeZilla dropped detailed analysis videos tearing apart the coaching scam, racking up millions of views and introducing even more people to Wes's fraudulent operation. Partners started bailing, distancing themselves from someone who'd become toxic overnight.
But Wes's response to all this? Stone-cold silence. No apology video, no attempt at damage control, no acknowledgement that maybe he'd messed up. Instead, he just kept posting the same content. More Lamborghini footage, more aggressive alpha male preaching, more flexing. That indifference felt like a slap across the face to everyone he'd scammed. It was as if he believed that ignoring the controversy long enough would make it disappear, that his loyal fan base would drown out the critics. He was wrong. The silence didn't calm anything down. It poured gasoline on the fire, confirming to everyone watching that Wes Watson didn't care about the people he'd hurt. He cared about maintaining his image at all costs. Class action lawsuits started forming. Multiple firms reached out to victims, building cases for mass fraud. The legal pressure was mounting, but Wes kept his head down, kept posting, kept pretending everything was fine. That delusion, that refusal to face reality, it was setting the stage for something even worse.
December 29th, 2024. That's the date everything truly collapsed. Alvadeon Fitness in Miami, a gym Wes co-owned, became the scene of an incident that would destroy whatever credibility he had left. It started with typical Wes Watson bravado. He posted on social media, publicly challenging enemies to face him one-on-one, prove themselves against the alpha. Hakeem Ibrahim, a guy Wes had been mocking online as a 7-foot black dude, decided to take him up on the offer. He showed up at the gym ready for the fair fight Wes had supposedly wanted.
What happened next wasn't a fight, it was an ambush. Surveillance footage captured the whole thing, and it's brutal to watch. The moment Ibrahim walked through the door, Wes and his crew swarmed him. Multiple attackers, no fair fight, just overwhelming violence. They used weighted belts and gym equipment as weapons, piling on until Ibrahim collapsed. This went on for minutes, not seconds. A sustained, coordinated beatdown that had nothing to do with proving dominance and everything to do with inflicting maximum damage. Ibrahim's face swelled up. Bruises covered his body. Chunks of his hair had been ripped out. The injuries lingered for weeks.
But the violence itself wasn't even the most disturbing part. During the assault, Wes used racial slurs, the N-word specifically, turning what was already a vicious attack into something uglier. It wasn't just physical brutality. It was an attempt to dehumanize someone in the most historically painful way possible. For a guy who'd spent years building a following partially on his time surviving prison, using that language exposed something dark that the alpha male persona had been hiding. This wasn't discipline or strength. This was the same prison yard mentality he claimed to have evolved beyond, except now it was being deployed against someone who just wanted the fair fight Wes promised.
Ibrahim initially showed up willing to handle things one-on-one. After the group assault with weapons, he filed a lawsuit and the community rallied behind him hard. Wes stayed quiet for a bit, probably hoping it would blow over. When he finally broke his silence, he dropped an Instagram video claiming self-defense. The excuse was laughable. He said Ibrahim could have pulled a gun at any time, so they had to neutralize the threat. Never mind that there was no gun, or that Wes and his crew were the ones who initiated contact, or that the surveillance footage showed a clear ambush. Self-defense requires an actual threat, not paranoid justification for a group beatdown.
The body cam footage from when police arrived made everything worse. Wes tried to play the victim, flexing his fame like it should grant immunity. "I'm Wes Watson. Everybody knows who I am," he told officers, genuinely confused why they were treating him like a suspect instead of a celebrity. He justified the extra blows they landed on Ibrahim by saying they needed to neutralize him completely, make sure he couldn't get back up. Then he escalated, threatening, "Next time I'll end his life." He mocked Ibrahim's appearance, saying, "Don't wear long hair if you don't want it pulled during a fight." Every word out of his mouth dug the hole deeper.
The body cam also revealed Wes's insecurities in ways he probably didn't intend. He freaked out when police noted his height is 5'4", clearly sensitive about not matching the physical dominance he preached. He worried more about getting swatted, online harassment he'd face, than about the serious criminal charges stacking up. He tried to bond with the officers, explaining that people want to fight him because he's famous, that he's constantly dealing with challengers trying to make a name off him. The whole interaction painted a picture of someone completely detached from reality, convinced that fame and muscles put him above consequences. His contradictions piled up fast. He denied weapons were used despite clear footage showing weighted belts and gym equipment. He claimed Ibrahim kept antagonizing him, but conveniently left out how he was the one who issued the public challenge. He positioned himself as a mindset coach, preaching control and discipline, yet every word from his mouth dripped with threats and mockery. When cops tried to let him leave initially, he smugly said, "Oh, you're leaving. Have a nice day," only to get stopped and questioned further. The mask kept slipping, showing someone with zero self-awareness and an ego that had grown cancerous.
The internet response was immediate and brutal. The body cam footage hit 13 million views in a single day. Comments flooded in calling Wes a racist thug, a fake alpha beating up someone who might have been disabled given the circumstances. The hashtag Justice for Hakeem trended hard, bringing even more attention to the case. Analysis channels broke down every frame of the surveillance video, pointing out how Wes's full-force kick to Ibrahim's face barely fazed him, proving all that muscle didn't translate to actual power. Big muscles? Zero technique, just sloppy aggression from someone who talked a better game than he could deliver.
Wes's crisis management was somehow even worse than the incident itself. While the internet exploded, he posted Instagram stories of himself dancing in his rented apartment, acting like nothing had happened. He eventually addressed the allegations but offered no apology, just more deflection and mockery of Ibrahim. He even went on podcasts laughing about the situation, turning what should have been a moment of accountability into another opportunity to attack someone he'd already brutalized. For a guy who built his brand on helping others overcome struggles, the lack of empathy was staggering. He cared more about protecting his alpha image than making anything right.
The legal consequences came down hard. Wes was arrested on February 6, 2025, charged with felony battery carrying up to 5 years and aggravated battery with a potential 15-year sentence. But Florida's state attorney's office wasn't playing. Given his prior criminal record and the severity of the assault, they pushed for a combined sentence that could reach 25 years. The trial got scheduled for July 2025, giving everyone months to watch this disaster unfold in slow motion. His YouTube channel became a graveyard, every video flooded with dislikes and comments demanding accountability. Sponsorships evaporated, partners cut ties, and his follower count hemorrhaged. Over 1 million Instagram followers disappeared in a single day, a mass exodus that showed just how quickly public opinion could turn.
But even with all that hanging over him, with a potential quarter-century prison sentence looming and his reputation in ruins, Wes Watson wasn't done destroying himself. By September 2025, with Ibrahim's civil lawsuit still pending and criminal charges unresolved, he managed to create fresh chaos that proved his so-called wall of belief was just a flimsy mask hiding desperation.
He was in Miami for a live stream with Jack Doherty, another influencer known for controversy and drama. What should have been a chill night turned into another public disaster. A young guy approached their table, probably a fan or just someone recognizing them. Instead of handling it cool, Wes snapped immediately. "Shut up and walk away, we're filming," he barked, then told his security to physically handle the situation. Things escalated fast. One of Wes's crew members, the same guy who'd used weights during the gym attack, stood up and shoved the kid, sparking a heated argument.
Then it got weird. Wes turned on his own people. The argument shifted from the random guy to within Wes's group, and Wes started threatening his own friend. "You want to do something? I'll end your life," he said. The same kind of threat he'd made to Ibrahim in the bodycam footage. The crew was screaming at each other on a live stream with thousands watching. The peak of the absurdity hit when someone in the group pulled a knife in a packed restaurant, all over a petty live stream confrontation. And Wes, he just kept eating, acting like his crew brandishing weapons in public was totally normal. Jack Doherty, often criticized for avoiding conflict despite creating it, bolted from the scene looking genuinely panicked. The clip spread across YouTube and X instantly. Millions of views within hours. Comments roasted everyone involved. "These are the guys selling life advice? What a joke," one person wrote, summing up the sentiment perfectly. The hashtag Wes Watson meltdown hit trending, dragging his name through the mud again. This incident wasn't even about him being attacked or defending himself. It was pure lack of control, showing that Wes couldn't manage his own crew or his own temper, even knowing the legal trouble he was already facing. The Miami police opened an investigation into the restaurant incident. Potential charges for threats and weapons violations got added to Wes's already stacked legal problems. The connection with Jack Doherty highlighted something pathetic about where Wes had ended up. Here were two fake alpha clowns, as people called them, where violence and flexing had completely replaced any substance. Everything Wes touched turned toxic. Every appearance became another scandal. Every attempt to maintain relevance just accelerated his downfall. So where does this leave Wes Watson? From an ex-convict who inspired millions with his transformation story, he's morphed into a cautionary tale about what happens when ego, greed, and violence replace actual growth. The coaching scam robbed people of their money and trust. The rented lifestyle exposed his hypocrisy. The gym attack revealed his brutality and racism. The restaurant incident showed his complete lack of self-control. Each piece of this puzzle forms a portrait of someone who never actually changed, who just found a more profitable way to monetize the same prison mentality he claimed to have transcended. Can he recover from this? The honest answer is probably not. The legal system doesn't care about follower counts or alpha male mantras. He's facing serious time, potentially decades, for crimes caught on camera with his own words sealing his fate. The civil lawsuits will drain whatever money he has left. His reputation is demolished beyond repair. The name Wes Watson, now synonymous with fraud and violence rather than transformation and discipline. Even if he somehow avoids the worst-case sentencing, who's going to trust him after all this? Who's going to pay for coaching from someone who scammed thousands and solved conflicts with group attacks?
The bigger question is what this says about influencer culture and the alpha male movement specifically. Wes Watson isn't the first guru to be exposed as a fraud, and he won't be the last.
But his downfall is particularly stark because of how completely the mask came off. We saw every layer of deception, from the rented cars to the fake coaching to the violent outbursts. There's a lesson here about parasocial relationships, about giving too much trust to people who are ultimately just selling a product. These influencers don't know you, don't care about your personal growth beyond how it affects their bottom line. When you invest emotionally and financially into someone's curated persona, you're setting yourself up for disappointment when reality inevitably breaks through.
For the men who followed Wes, who believed in him, who paid for his programs, this has to hurt and weighs beyond just losing money. They bought into a vision of masculinity that turned out to be hollow. They trusted someone who claimed to understand struggle because he lived it, only to discover he was exploiting that very understanding for profit. Moving forward means recognizing that real transformation doesn't come from following influencers or buying coaching packages. It comes from internal work, from finding genuine mentors and communities, from building something real rather than chasing someone else's rented fantasy.
Wes Watson's story is a tragedy, but not in the way he'd probably want it framed. It's not tragic that he got caught or faced consequences. That's justice. The tragedy is how many people he hurt along the way. How many men he scammed while they were at their most vulnerable, searching for a lifeline and finding a con artist instead. The tragedy is that someone who genuinely did survive and transform in prison chose to weaponize that experience rather than use it to legitimately help others. He had a platform, had influence, had the ability to make a real difference. Instead, he built an empire on lies, violence, and exploitation. As his trial approaches and more details emerge, the Wes Watson story serves as a reminder that not everyone claiming to have the answers actually does, that muscles and motivational speeches don't equal character, that the flashiest lifestyle is often the most fraudulent. Sometimes the people preaching the loudest about discipline and transformation are the ones who need those lessons the most. Before you go, hit that subscribe button one last time. We'll keep bringing you the real stories behind the influencer facades, the celebrity scandals that actually matter, the downfalls that teach us something about the world we're navigating. And hey, unlike Wes, we want to salt you if you leave a critical comment, so that's a bonus. Thanks for watching, and remember, if someone's alpha male advice comes with a rental receipt and a criminal record, maybe look elsewhere for guidance.